Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Living a Graceful Life. I'm Tracy Gelb, and I'm so excited to have a friend of mine and a fellow Ageless Grace educator, Miss Mary Clark, is on with us tonight. Hi, Mary. Thank you for joining us.
It's a ball. I love it.
Well, Mary and I go back a ways. She trained to teach Ageless Grace a year after me. Was it 2018, Mary?
Correct, 2018.
And
When I was 30. So
when you were 30, on your 30th birthday, it was a birthday treat.
it was actually
And
a birthday treat. Seriously, it was around my birthday. Yes, it was. Not my 30th.
wonderful.
It was around my birthday. You're
So
right.
I want to hear, and we'll go back even, talk about more things, but I want to hear, how did you discover Ageless Grace and what made you want to become an educator?
Inscrutable one. This is a great question. My dear friend Joy and I, in 2017, in January, said, we've been going to the pool, but we want to do something physical. So we went to the Posnack JCC, which is lovely, very nice. And we went into the big room with the elliptical things and the things that you do this and you watch TV. And we went a couple of times, and I looked at her and she looked at me and I said, "Are you getting anything out of this?" "No, not really." Okay. So we went out and we saw a sign that said, "Ageless Grace, the brain body workout program." Lana Gelb, and the day and the date, whichever it was, I might have been Tuesday, it might have been, I don't remember. We said, "Well, why don't we try that?" So the next time we went, we wrote it down and we went into the room, and there was your lovely mom, and the music was playing, which I love. The music was great, and we sat in the front because we said, "Wait, we'll get," and we moved around, and we were following just about everything until we got to same, opposite, opposite, which now is my favorite move. So we're doing it, and we're getting in, and mom was like, "Don't worry, we'll all get confused together." We did. We finished up, and I looked at Joy and I said, I think we're pretty smart, but what the heck was that?" So then we said, "Well, we'll come back and try it some more." And we did. And as they say, the rest is history. So, I did it for about 17 or whatever. At the end of the year, I thought, I think I could do this. I think this is really fun, and I really like it because I love music, sing along and whatever. And so there was actually, mom was doing a certification class in March the following year. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was right around my birthday. It was toward the middle end of March. So that was my birthday present to myself in 2018.
Wonderful. So you've been teaching now 6 years,
Yep.
and
And
I know you have your regular class that you have different. I know you've subbed for me at different facilities, and I know that you were one of the facilities where I teach, which is an assisted living slash memory care, the one which was formerly the Sheridan. You were going there and volunteering. I think maybe even before you taught Ageless Grace.
Yes, yes. I just felt, this would be kind of interesting. So I went for an interview, and it was very detailed. You had to get a tuberculosis test. You had to have a background test. And so I went in and I met with a young lady, and she said, "You are very animated." Well, yeah. Uh, "I think you would be great in the memory care unit." I said, "So, yeah." And I say this with all sincerity. I think that I got more out of that than the participants did, because when the days that I would go, there was a young lady there who used to do music. She had a keyboard. I don't think she even does. I can't remember her name. You know who I mean, but I can't remember her name.
Yes.
She had a keyboard, and the faces, it was like the light was turned on for those folks when the music came. It just, and some of them would sing along, but she would do songs from like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. They would sing along and follow the music. So I would sort of jump around with this young lady, and then we'd sit and do bingo. But they loved bingo. They had a very unusual kind of bingo there. The cards, excuse me, did not have numbers. They had pictures of old stars, old movie stars, like John Wayne and this one and that one. And you'd spin the thing, and out would come with it, or not spin, the cards. So let's say I would pull a card, and I'd hold it up to them, and I'd say, "Oh, this lady used to be on All in the Family. She was Archie Bunker's wife." and they'd get it. They would get it. So they had a great time with that. Bingo, regular bingo, not so much, but they could play there for hours. And that's what we did. And it was
And
fun.
I think with those places like that, like a memory care and assisted living, which I do now 5 days a week, I was doing 7 before at those. It's amazing, especially at certain memory cares that I go where they really not only will move along, and I do a form of ageless grace. It is ageless grace, but I'll do, hokey pokey, like, and YMCA and things like that, that'll really resonate with them. And they'll move and they'll sing all the words. And it's so beautiful for the brain. It doesn't matter what. I told my class today, and I think you can agree that you can be 2 or 102 to do ageless grace.
Absolutely. And you adjust. I think I do it, and I'm sure you all do. I think all educators do this. You can adjust your class. You may have a playlist set up. You may have a thing you're going to do, but you have to read the class and see what their level of interest and ability is. If you have folks who have a physical limitation, you have to maybe, I don't want to use the term dumb it down because that's insulting. You just adjust the movement to what they like and what they correspond to. And I have found, I say this kiddingly, I will not use Kanye West for music.
Yeah, I agree.
Audience, it's just not. Glenn Miller, yes. Kanye West, no. It just is the audience. So.
And ageless grace, I know, is part of your life, but I know that you have a very special young lady that lives with you. Yes. And that's your daughter, Gidget, and I know you were going to show us all.
That's right. She's very busy sleeping on the bed, If this is, I think it's coming up. This is actually a painting or I think it's more like a watercolor that my friends in Alabama had done from a photo. And beautiful. It is just like the photo. Now, she and I have both, as I mentioned, Tracy, we've both gone to whiter hair because her ears now are all white. And I have a great poem for you that I saw on Facebook. My face is white, but my heart is gold. There is no shame in growing old. And I like it. Feel about my kid. And
of course. And I know that we are very blessed to know her and you personally and get to spend some holidays with you. And you love to dress her up in her different, and she loves it. We think in her different outfits. Yes, in her different.
We've been doing this for years. I get props that go with the holiday if it's a flag. And I usually do one for people, happy birthday for the person with their name. And she has a birthday bandana. And I cannot tell a lie. In one hand is the camera, in the other hand are a couple of milk bones. So, we hold this up. I don't know how William Wegman, if you know who that is, he takes pictures of wine runners and he has for years. They are in amazing poses. I don't know how he does it, but he's a professional photographer. We're just fooling around. She's a sweet dog. She actually also allows me to have another little side business, which is dog sitting, because I am an unofficial, as it were, dog sitter. And she is the decider. When we bring a new dog in, we meet outside on neutral territory. By the way, if you have dogs, this is a very good hint. A way to introduce dogs who, maybe cats too, I don't know, who don't know one another. We meet outside. That's neutral turf. Then we go to the side yard, and if everybody seems to be kosher, as it were, we take the leashes off and let them look down. I've only had to refuse one dog, really, because I felt it was a little assertive. I'm going to use that term. But Gidget is so low key. She likes everybody. And everybody gets to come in and they sleep right near me and we have a good time.
Well, we have a mutual love of animals. I think that I can't, I'm a bird mom and my mom and I are both bird moms, but I have a special dog that comes with me to some Ageless Grace classes, which I've told you about, which is a beautiful lab, an 8-year-old lab, and his name is Cooper. And he'll go to some of my assisted livings and memory cares twice a month now, and more if we can get them to come, him and his 2 dads. And he will go up to somebody, and he likes the music I always play, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? He loves Que Sera Sera. And he'll start rubbing with his nose, with their knee or a part of them, and the person will say, oh, you know, that's been hurting me lately, or I just had surgery on whatever part. And I believe that animals are something else. They're just almost supernatural because they're so, everything is just pure love, you know,
You
pure
said
love,
it.
pure joy.
That's very
And
true. Yeah, yeah. And you know, dogs have a sense of smell that is something ridiculous, like 100%, 100,000 times better than ours. So, in fact, I had a guest dog here this weekend, which is one of Gidget's good buddies, and her mom had asked me to sew some pockets on the side of a pair of trousers for her. So I did. Sewing machine is set up in the background, no big deal. And I held them out. The dog's name is Colonel. I said, Colonel, Mommy's pants. And she sort of sniffed at the hems and looked at me like, oh yeah, I got it. Because you know, they didn't, I'm not implying that she had sent dirty clothing. You know, there's a scent on there of ours that the animals get. And that's
yes,
why the animals, when they go into those assisted livings or hospitals or anywhere, they're really in tune with it. And I think you and I talked about this. There have been studies that dogs have been able to be trained to sniff out the presence of cancer or changes in diabetes. Um, what's the word I want? Seizure disorder. Dogs can tell when that is, you know, possibly coming. It's fascinating. And they of course, they read your moods. They know if you're not well, they get it. Because remember, we're everything to them. We are there to your birds, you are the sun, the moon, and the stars. And you know, we may have other interests, but we have to respect our animals and give them the love that they so freely give us. It's just,
I feel exactly that we're their whole life.
yeah.
And that's why I think about them when I'm out somewhere. And I mean, I'm not as crazy as I used to be. I'm getting much better with a little bit of the neuroses about paranoia. But I know you understand what I'm saying. And all of us, you know, dog mommies and cat mommies and birds and all of that know that they're on our mind when we're not there to make sure that they're okay. And I think you know, animals have been a big part of Ageless Grace for me because I do well, there's a tool called zoology, which we love, but I do a lot of my class about my birds. You know, I use them as part of the tool. I'll do different things, three little birds, and I do what obviously when Cooper's there, I use that as a, you know, as a thing. Like today, Mary had a wonderful idea today. Yesterday, we spoke on Friday, and she was going to do, since Jeopardy, for you Jeopardy fans, it is starting back up again. I thought it was the 12th, but it's actually today. And she had a wonderful Mary idea of doing all songs that have question marks, that are questions. Like, you know, how much is that doggy in the window? What's new, pussycat? So I did that today. What's new, pussycat? And I did, you know, are moving our spine, spaghetti spine, and we were cats. And it's a wonderful way having the animals as part of Ageless Grace. And I'm sure you do the same thing with your classes.
Yep, we try to incorporate that because people like it. And by the way, sitting on my computer here is a pencil that somebody gave me. I won't hold it up because you won't see it. It's got, there were a few of them. They have little sayings, and this one says, "My dog is lonely. I need to go home."
I know the feeling. So we started on the end. So we started with your Ageless Grace career, which is wonderful, and we're so grateful. Tell me a little bit more. Give me some background. Tell me, I know you worked, I think it was for Amex for a while.
For American Express. That was the greatest job. Well, other than Asian Express, that was one of the greatest jobs I did. People were like, wait a minute, they pay you to do this? Yes, they do. I coordinated, there were people in every unit that did this kind of job. The company used to run something called an annual survey, which was about 100 questions about what you like about your job, what you like, what you not like, what does your supervisor do that you like, what does your supervisor, yada, yada, yada. So we would administer that survey, and then yours truly, and it was done through an independent company, just, you know, outside. They would give you logins, and so nobody could really tell who was saying what. But yours truly would analyze those results. That's the serious part of the job. And we would try to fix things like, the easy fixes were things like, my computer keyboard is too high. I'm a short person. So you get one of the engineers to come in and they lower the thing, ergonomic, fix it, that's great. Then you get some that were comments like, my supervisor calls me stupid when we are in team meetings.
Oh,
This is hard to fix because that's soft skill. That's very, so you'd have to call the manager in or whatever and say, I need to give you some feedback. Your people are saying, may I suggest that you say, something else. But that was the serious part. The fun part was coordinating events, buying stuff, dressing up in costumes for whatever event was going on, and making sure that at Halloween, the people above me in my unit all had costumes and plenty of candy to hand out. This was a tough job.
It sounds wonderful, but I think that one of the things about you, and I know this, and every time I talk to you, and I'm not trying to, you're either picking someone up from the airport, taking someone to the doctor's office, doing something, we joke around, but you're the most Jewish, non-Jewish person when I say, because we joke around that you do so many mitzvahs. And for those of you that don't know, that's a good deed. That's a God's work. That's all of those things. And Mary,
613. I'm trying to get to 613. I hope to do that.
because Mary does, getting the costumes for people or doing everything. And I wasn't surprised when I found out that you volunteered at the Sheridan before you, before you even started teaching Ageless Grace, because I think that we meet people in our lives, and I think that's one of the gifts and blessings, there's so many, of being in the Ageless Grace community, is to meet the people that we've met. They've been magical, from the other fellow trainers and educators to the students. And it's people that are a community of giving, and of learning, because, well, you have, something, we're talking about the brain and we're talking about neuroplasticity, but we're also having a demographic that is a tender demographic, if you think of it like that. And, I really do believe that, I've been able to meet people like you, and to meet, people that are watching the show. And then we've gotten to my mom, of course, trainer and extraordinaire trainer and educator. And then Denise Medved, the woman who created this beautiful program. And it's just growing and growing. I used to say, I teach Ageless Grace. I would tell somebody that, and they, a lot of times would be like, oh, what is that? Now they say, oh, they have that at my library. I've been wanting to go. And I would say, well, I can't explain it to you. You have to go to the class. You have to come to my class or somebody else's so I can, explain it. But I've seen more connection. I've been teaching for 8 years, and I've recently become a trainer. And I've only done a recert so far, a recertification, but we all need to get recertified. I know you, Mary, we've done many together, so that we can refresh. And one of the things that I love is to go to other people's classes, is to go, and you always come to our classes.
It's fun. When you give, you don't get, especially going back to the mitzvah, you don't do a good deed because you're going to get one back. That's not, it's not pro bono, or not. It's the opposite. It's not tit for tat. You do it because it is the right thing to do. And down the road, you might find, hey, somebody's going to do this for me, or they're going to help me with that. That's great. I mean, that's part of it. As I said, I used to get more out of going to the former Sheridan. It just made me smile. It actually, I also like going to Amateur Turnberry, and I'm really enjoying the people that can be, because that's kind of a higher end, different demographic. But I think I told you this, Tracy. Last week, a lady who had not been in a class came up to me, very petite woman in nice exercise clothes, and she was beaming. She said, Sonny told me I should come to this. And she was right. She said, I just loved it. I loved everything about it. I said, well, thank you. You just made my day. I'm glad you liked it, because that's how I got involved in teaching it, because it was so enjoyable. You got to do things. You were moving. You were energized without, climbing on a treadmill book. So she said, I'm coming again. I said, good. Come next week.
That's the best. I had 6 gentlemen in my class today, which is, as high for, a high ratio, because it's not that easy to get the guys in there. And I say to them, it's an honor, because 2 of them came back after the first time. When I was happy to see return guests, but I'm very happy to see the men, because we know how important this is for our longevity. In the last 8 years, whatever's happened in our lives, and there's definitely been, huge roller coasters, and you and I have spoken
Yes.
privately about different things that happen, and that's to all of us. To all of us. I have a woman today in my class that lost her bird yesterday after 35 years. And
Oh,
it broke my heart. It made me, and she told me at the beginning of the class, only because her friend told her, "Oh, did you tell Tracy yet?" And she said, "I didn't want to yet. I was going to wait." But I saw her laughing, and I saw her, and I know she's in pain, as we would all know, believe me. But I said to her, "I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm so happy." And I was obviously very cognizant. I wasn't planning to play any bird songs or anything. We did What's New Pussycat, but I didn't bring birds into it. But I think that, being able to kind of let your troubles go. I've had so many people say to me, when I came to the class today, this morning or this afternoon, I felt kind of down. And now I'm feeling wonderful afterwards. And that's happened to me a lot, especially in these last 3 years since I stopped gambling. Because once you stop something like that, your serotonin and your dopamine can lower. And Ageless Grace is like a happiness pill. Only I don't like pills, you guys know that, but like a happiness booster. And I think that that's why it's been I say to them, recently it was Labor Day, and I did a class and I said, let's all talk about jobs that we love. And I said, this is my favorite job I've ever had. And I said, because when I come here, I don't feel like I'm working. And they say, if you love what you do, then you don't work a day in your life.
absolutely. Very
So
true. I kind of equate doing Ageless Grace classes with what I call a Broadway mentality. Maybe I'd get up and I really don't want to do this, and I have a little headache. And, all right, put the clothes on, get the shirt that matches the theme. Tomorrow will be my Alex Trebek t-shirt which has the quote about Jeopardy, so that's perfect. But then I get in the car and I get there, plug in the equipment, and people start coming in. It's good morning, how are you? I'm great, how are you? We're gonna have some fun today. It just turns you right on, because you know that no matter how many times you may have done this group of songs, we talked about that too, we change them up a little. It's new for them. They want something new. They want something exciting. It's Broadway mentality.
yes.
That part of that survey business I was talking about. I used to have to do about a 15-minute introduction, or maybe 12-minute introduction. Hi, thank you for coming. Today we're going to take the blank employee survey. It's important that you know that yada, yada, yada. I had to go through this speech. Some disclaimer, as it were. And remember that for these folks, this is something new. So I had to put a little, if you really are uncomfortable with something, please give us in the comments, tell us what we could do to improve that behavior that you think is not appropriate. If you just disagree with things, because it was a disagree or agree kind of thing, we don't know how to fix it. And we really need your help to fix it. And then a big smile. And then we would get some comments. It's all about conveying to the audience, we're here for you. We want to help you. So same thing, I think, with Ageless Grace. I'm here for you. I'm going to watch you. I'm going to tell you, if I do this and you cannot do that, I want you to modify the movement to what is comfortable for you. You do that too, of course.
And I want to show everybody how brilliant you are and how your brain is. Can you give me like 2 sentences? Mary talks backwards.
Oh, say. I can't do neuroplasticity. That's probably a little too hard. I'll give you a quick quote.
Okay, yes.
Einstein. Ich will sie ikel gnider elkik ib. At piek ruai eknalab, uoi to some piek gnivam. What? Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving.
I love that.
It's a
I
good,
love that.
it goes along with his, what's the definition of insanity? We all know that one. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But I thought this was a great quote about riding a bicycle. And, we do balancing act, which is one of my favorite tools. I love balancing act. And also and Tai Chi. I mean,
all of them. I love that quote. And I think it's, one of the things, because you can do Ageless Grace seated, it so much levels the playing field that we have everything. But I know for me, even though I do like to do other things, and I've actually started doing weights recently because I know how important that is, for our bones and for all of those. But Ageless Grace, I get an amazing workout. I get such a good, I'm sweating, I'm doing my shake it up and all of those things. And people don't realize how important it is and how important it is for the brain to do the program seated, to teach the brain to do things seated that we, that's the point, and leveling the playing field. I think it's been, and it's how I've met you and pretty much the whole community, many people that I speak to on a regular basis, and even friends of mine that I've introduced to Ageless Grace, they've enjoyed it so much. They've brought other friends, and then we'll have coffee afterwards. So it's a whole.
And you might want to, I'm going to throw this in because I'm looking at our time here. You know that Friday is Friday the 13th. So we will certainly not have triskaidekaphobia, fear of the number 13.
Oh.
Because Friday is also National Positive Thinking Day. So I say this frequently, there is no other option than to be positive. You must be, it's really hard some days, but you just have to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, a la the song. Positivity is the key word. It's just, and when you do Ageless Grace, you have to be positive. You will feel positive because you're just doing the endorphins and everything's going and it's great. So,
well, I think 13 is my lucky number. One of my lucky, I have two, 13 and 47. But, and I agree with you. I think that everybody in the world, I don't think anyone is immune to having times that are harder than others and having, tragedies and traumas, little T's and big T's. And I think I'm learning in this age and stage of life how to handle it without freaking out and trying to just be as positive as I can. My mom and I always start the day talking about what we're grateful for. We talk to each other about it. We say three things, or sometimes it can go on for a while, and it puts in our brain the things that we are grateful for. And I always bring it into my classes, always grabbing things that we're grateful for, talking about, doing, when we do Breathe Out Loud, talking about, I feel grateful, because I know this for me, that you will never suffer if you feel gratitude, no matter what's going on. Like, I know that for me, that I have, whenever I start thinking, little things that the brain will be like, oh, why don't I have kids, or why aren't I married? And then I'll think, I have the best mom in the world. I have wonderful friends and wonderful students, and I have Ageless Grace, and I have, so many things. I have the show, my support group that my mom and I get to do and meet people, amazing people. So all of those things, whatever God has in store for me in my romantic life, will come to be. And as I progress further in the world of learning and being positive, more things will come, as long as I'm open to it and not feeling sorry for myself. That's not going to happen.
Yes, feeling sorry for yourself is a road to sort of nowhere. Here's another good quote for you. You could substitute be grateful, but I think it's happy. To be happy, you must let go of what's gone, be grateful for what remains, and look forward to what is coming next. That's kind of a summation of what you just said.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And
grateful, look forward. There's always something exciting coming next.
Of course. And since we're almost done, I can't believe this has gone so, it's flown by, as my time with you does when I get to be with you. Mary loves to sing. She's a singer. She's a
Carol Burnett. I was doing the Carol Burnett.
Oh, you're doing Carol. Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I don't know if you know that story. She used to, in her show, pinch her ear when she sang, I'm so glad we had this time together, at the end of the show. That was a sign to her grandmother who raised her. That was a sign, Grandma, I love you. And that's why she did that. Yeah.
I love that.
We're educators. We have to educate people.
And as Mary is the best person with animals ever, if anybody needs they're in this local South Florida area and needs a little place to put your baby for a few days, if you have a trip, you can reach out to me at Tracy Gelb, my name, TRACEYGELB @hotmail.com. And I would be happy to relay the message to Mary. She teaches only one public class at this time, so I'd also be happy. It's in the, what would you call it? Sunny Isles, Hallandale, the one that you teach, not the V, because that's private.
No, and that's moving, remember.
And that's moving, right. So
to
right
another
now,
location in, I think, either the end
but
of September or October.
oh, okay. But so Mary, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to do an 18. I appreciate you very much. And
One singular sensation.
thank you so much, Mary.